The bannings, unless you're living in a hole somewhere and you haven't figured it out, Summer Bloom is now banned, as well as, I'll let you say this one.
Splinter Twin is now banned in Modern, effective in 12 hours and 41 minutes.
Yes, it's going to be great. No longer do you have to worry about tapping out on turn 3 against a blue-red deck. It's safe, everyone. So basically, why do you think everyone knew Bloom was going to get banned? We don't really need to elaborate and go into that. So why do you think, as a Twin player, why do you think it was banned?
Before I get into it, I want to volley this back at you real quick. Why Bloom and not Amulet?
Ooh. I think they got rid of Bloom because I think it's easier for Bloom to be put in a different deck in Modern, if not now, down the line, where that card can just be degenerate, whereas Amulet is pretty safe and maybe can lead to other decks utilizing Amulet not in a broken way.
Amulet is an interesting card, that's for sure. I guess the more boringly unfair card is Bloom, so it makes sense to that degree. And Amulet is interesting design space, and Bloom is restricting design space. So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, and the other thing with Amulet too, it's there's not many cards that come into play tapped. Yeah. In addition to, there's not many cards that come into play tapped and are actually playable.
Yeah.
Whereas Summer Bloom, I don't know if this is good or not, but I was playing against a gentleman here at the store, and he was playing Summer Bloom in his Tron deck. So he just turn 2 Summer Bloom, and now he has full Tron out on turn 2. And not only does he have full Tron out, but he can play everything in his hand. I'm just yeah, I can't stop that. Yeah, and then the following turn, Void Winnower came down, and I couldn't play a spell in my deck.
Couldn't even.
I couldn't even, yes. That's right. There you go, Jake Mondello. We love you.
Last time I played Scapeshift in Modern without the Bring to Light package, I played against Red Green Tron. I'm this is my best matchup. And my opponent just played Void Winnower into Crumble to Dust. And I just lost. And I'm what the hell happened?
I don't know. Void Winnower is a pretty interesting card.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's very good.
I don't know.
Its applications are pretty narrow.
It's pretty good against a lot of decks, but pretty good and good are, there's a lot of space in between there.
The floor for a 9-drop has to be pretty high, and the ceiling has to be
The fact that it just
unreasonable.
dies to any removal spell to me is kind of...
Well,
okay, so Path of Exile, double Dismember.
Yeah.
Double. Beast Within.
You can Beast Within. Putrefy.
Crush of Tentacles if you pay the surge cost.
No, it still costs.
Oh, it still...
Costs 6.
It's not a replacement for the cost?
It doesn't change the mana cost.
Okay,
it's an alternate
cost. So you can't crush.
It's like if you kick something, it's still
All right, now I'm officially mad. I cannot crush. What about... Can we still play this? Real quick. We can still play the alignment.
Yes, the Hedron alignment is not emergency banned in Modern.
We can still win with Hedron alignment. All right, so back. You volleyed it to me. Back to Twin.
All right, Twin.
I know. Well, first of all, sorry to interrupt you. First of all, Wizards put out a statement basically stating that they banned Twin for the interest of competition within the game Modern. What does that mean for people?
In the interest of format diversity, I think that was basically their justification for it.
Yes.
And that makes sense. So, what's happening here is, people are... Twin is actually pushing all the other blue decks out of the format, but it's not happening in the conventional direct, cause and effect way that it would generally happen. It's not, Twin beats these other blue decks so bad that you can't play Grixis Control, you can't play Jeskai Control, you can't play Blue Moon anymore. That's not what's happening. The format is so polarized between linear aggressive decks and the top end big mana decks that when you play blue, the opportunity cost of not putting Twin in your deck is too high. So Twin is actually pushing all the blue decks out of the format by saying you have to play this combo to play blue and be reasonably competitive.
Okay.
So the cost of not playing this combo is too high, so that every non-blue mid-range interactive deck or every blue non-twin, mid-range interactive deck is just a bad twin deck. Every single one of these decks
you're
is a bad
saying
twin deck.
blue is like playing basketball, and why not run with Jordans rather than going to Walmart and picking up the cheapest pair of shoes?
It's just shoes that don't even work.
Okay, so we're talking.
Yeah,
okay,
the
we're
analogy
talking
is
like
slightly
flip
different.
flops.
Well, yeah, you're hopping on one foot.
Okay.
The rest of the people have like scooters, and you're hopping on one foot. That's what like playing Jeskai Control or like something like that without. It's just a disaster. But yeah, so that's why like blue doesn't actually work in modern, because if you don't play twin, like it's too dangerous when you play against the splits in the format. Like it's not really safe to not play twin, and as a result, if Pro Tours tend to slant towards blue decks in most formats where slanting towards blue decks will give you an advantage. So like the older the format. So generally like when you slant toward eternal formats, like the more card selection you have, the more card advantage you have, like the more that the best players are drawn to these type of decks. So like Pro Tours end up being where like the modern blue decks see a lot of play. Like the modern blue decks from the Pro Tours are the best blue decks, are the decks that the best players are drawn to. So like what's happened now is that the best modern Pro Tour deck is just always Splinter Twin as long as it's been legal, because it has the combo, it's blue, it has card selection interaction, it can beat the linear aggressive decks, it can beat the big mana decks because it has this powerful combo that, you know, keeps these decks in check, and at the same time it has the play skill, it has play to it. It has the interaction that a lot of the higher level players seek to get out of a deck. So like all these things combined, and the fact that it's just the best combo deck against other combo decks most of the time, makes it just far and away the best Pro Tour deck every single time, unless the metagame is super, super heavily slanted towards black-green, but that's pretty unusual because of the top end and the bottom end. But anyway, that's why Twin is the best Pro Tour deck. And I don't think that modern Pro Tour, I think the Wizards is worried that the modern Pro Tour is going to be 3 to 4 twin decks in the top 8, and that the rest of the format is going to be, you know, the decks that went under twin and beat them before they went off, and the rest of it is going to be the top end that beat them, you know, when they didn't draw their combo, or when they drew their 8 sideboard cards they have to board in against twin to compete. You know, Rending Volley, Nature's Claim, blah, 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 blah. Like, so, like, it just ends up being just kind of an ugly format in that regard.
Okay.
So, like, now, do I think the solution actually is a solution? If your goal is to not have there be 4 twin decks in top 8 of the Pro Tour, well, you just banned it, so it worked. Like, in the short, it worked. But, like, the format just is increasingly more polarized now. Like, it just makes the big mana decks better because they don't have to fear dying on turn 4. They don't have to fear remand into the combo.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me because, like, Tron has been main decking Spellskite, and actually everyone's been like, oh, well, Tron, their worst matchup's Twin, and they've been beating Twin.
I lost to Twin twice in Charlotte.
Yeah,
I lost to Tron twice. Sorry,
they've been beating it already. It's kind of crazy.
Tron is really good. Like, the plan that the blue decks had against Tron, which was to just, like, hold up a bunch of counter spells and wait till they either run out of stuff or they can be forced to play only one thing a turn with their Tron. This plan is, like, blanked by Ulamog. The new Ulamog and, to a lesser extent, Emrakul are the foils to this plan, the control plan from the blue decks. So, like, you can't sit around anymore because they're just going to tutor up Eye once they get Tron, tutor up Ulamog, and blow up your lands. And then just do it again next 2 turns later.
Yeah,
blow up your lands.
Ulamog's crazy. Ulamog and Kozilek. The cast triggers, I don't know if it's good for the actual gameplay. I think it's interesting. It brought something new to the table. They didn't want to just make guys that were just like, oh, well, control decks are just going to have Disdainful Stroke, and then you get nothing.
Yeah.
But I do feel like there is an imbalance now, and it's almost they've tipped it in the weight of the big mana decks. Because even in Standard, there's like, between Kozilek now and Ulamog, Like, I've played so many games where, like, yeah, I have a removal spell for Ulamog, but, like, losing my 2 best permanents, the game's still,
Yeah,
like...
You lose your two best permanents are in play, and likely your best removal spell, because it has to be your best removal spell if it's killing an indestructible 10/10.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, you're losing 3 cards. They're losing 1 card that they likely tutored up off Sanctum or, whatever. And they may have cracked Sanctum and gotten a backup. So, like, it's just really scary. It's almost the same dynamic in Standard that it is in Modern to a degree, where, like, these decks have taken away the inevitability that card advantage and card selection would traditionally provide you. So now it's just a scary, like, flux of the momentum of the format, and
Yeah.
I don't like it.
And I agree with you too. It's taken away a little bit of the skill percentage. Like, not to take anything away from Tron players or big mana players, because those decks are hard to build and those decks are hard to play at some points. But when the average person can pick up a deck and just play lands and say, oh, well, this costs 6, I'll play it.
Third turn card.
Like, third turn card. Like, that's not... It doesn't, prove to me as being, like, a skillful deck. Like, in the grand scheme of things. Like, if you play 50 Tron players, I'd say the percentage of playing people that actually know what they're doing with the deck as opposed to people, it doesn't matter because the same lines, they're very similar. I'll use the same reference with me, with Boggles. Yeah. Like, am I good with Boggles? Yes, I'm good with Boggles. But is the guy that's the second best player maybe, if I'm the best, let's just say theoretically, that I was the best and the second best, that margin's not like... mountains. It's like a jump over a puddle.
Yeah, what you're saying is you're speaking to the floor versus the ceiling of these decks. Whereas, like, with Tron, and similarly with Boggles, the floor is the base level you can operate the deck at. And you don't have to be very good to be like, count, oh, this card's huge, I'll play this card with all my mana. Like, that's what you can do. And the ceiling is doing the same thing. You can't do any more than, like, the worst you can, or the baseline of the deck is third turn Karn, and the nut draw of the deck is third turn Karn. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, the best play for the best player and the best play for the worst player is, like, the same thing a lot of the time. So the ceiling and the floor are, like, approaching being a similar value. Like, you don't have to have a super high skill level to operate these decks, and that's what Dan's saying. And, like, the best Tron player is, like, going to sequence, and they're going to, bait the remand before they play their third turn card, or maybe they'll walk into... they're going to know what to do, whatever it is. I don't know what it is for sure. But whatever it is, they're going to know what to do. But they're not going to gain many percentage points over the people who are just kind of throwing giant spells into the air wildly. And that is scary.
So, for someone that... I'll leave this, our modern talks, I'll leave it off with this.
Yeah, please, I don't want to talk about modern.
You know how much I dislike Tron.
I mean...
They haven't taken anything away from it. In fact, they've made it better. Do you think this is in response to what a lot of people around the MTG finance and MTG community are talking about, because they want Tron to do well at this Pro Tour because it sells more Magic packs, because this is an Eldrazi set, there's Kozilek in it, there's Kozilek's Return, there's all these new toys. That's why I kind of... New toys on the bar here for Weekly Ward. Do you think that that's like their ultimate goal was to make this deck better, to push this deck because it's... it gets more people love the big creatures. I just played a 2020. This is great.
It's my first Pro Tour, and I'm 8-0 because I... fourth turn Ulamogged everyone.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, the Pro Tour is the promotional tour as much as it's the professional tour. So, like, you do have to remember that it is a business, and they are driving to sell their product, and that's what a business is supposed to do. It's not like a shady, underhanded, backroom thing. Oh, like, if that was their motive and they came out and said that was their motive, people don't really even have a right to be upset. That's completely reasonable. But do I think that it's like a baby conspiracy to like get to get the newest cards like relevant in the format and pushed? Not really. Do I think that they like realize that people could think this and that this could be a thing and are like cognizant of this? Sure, probably. They're really smart over there. But like, I don't think it was like a blatant, calculated, oh, we're going to orchestrate this so that we make as much money as possible. I think it's more the product that they're more worried about is the presentation of the Pro Tour. They want it to be watchable, and they want it to be watchable for a wide range of people. It's like a thing that they're doing that's supposed to be good. They're trying to make it so that people don't get bored with the redundancy of Twin. The redundancy of Twin.
Agreed.
Either turn 4ing or not turn 4ing. The nonsense of Amulet Bloom, where all the intricacies of that deck that like people like Matthias Hunt and Justin Cohen and those guys who play it all the time, like those guys can tell you things about that deck that are just mind blowing. That deck is amazingly complicated. But like to a viewer who's watching it, it's like, can he stop already? Come on. Like, you're just untapping lands over and over and over. Like, that's not what people want to watch.
Well, then why not ban Lantern?
I mean, sure.
I'm just saying.
Sign me up.
I just think there's something. Maybe I don't want to sound conspiracy theory, start going off on conspiracy theories here. But I definitely think that there is something to, like, obviously this set maybe just lining up with the bands, like the stars are aligned.
Yeah.
But it is interesting that, like, Tron, for if anyone at Wizards is watching the circuit, Tron has been doing fairly well at the modern scene. And in a lot of regards is held as, if not the best, one of the top 3 decks in the format right, at this point.
It's absolutely tier 1.
So it's
one of the
getting
best
more
decks.
tools. It's getting better removal in some people's eyes with Kozilek's return. And now you're taking away one of the decks that actually kind of kept it in check. It's just surprising that if this was in the interest of competition, they would do something to slow Tron down maybe.
Well, the thing about Tron is that when you're skewing your deck to be this super threat dense, play the best spell I can with my big mana from 3rd turn on, is like there's an opportunity cost. Like in a format as wide as Modern, you're not going to be able to just do this with Reckless Abandon with no consequences. Like there are predators to Tron. Burn is pretty good against Tron. Infect is pretty good against Tron. Like these matchups are approaching like dreadful for the Tron deck, at least in game 1s.
Infect and what else?
And Burn.
Yeah. I don't know. Infect not so much anymore because they run 3 spell skates.
Yeah,
and now with Kozilek's return, they're going to have an instant speed, just wrath your board.
I think most Infect decks have main deck Twisted Image at this point. But either way, yeah, sure.
Like, I think they have tools to fight it.
They can have the tools, but they definitely don't have the tools to fight it that they do. Like, they're good matchups. It's nowhere near where they play against Jund or whatever. You just can't lose, right?
Yeah.
Most of the time. But, yeah.
Ban Urza's Tower, Andrea said.
Yeah, just Urza's Tower.
Urza's Power Plant. You got to ban the power. The tower is okay. Just the power.
I think before we get off Modern real quick, and I know I'm long-winded, and I try to just be super, like... So all the guys out there, guys and girls out there watching, like, forgive me if I drone. I try not to drone. I just really want to keep, like, all the ideas before I get distracted, to get everything that possible that's relevant out. But anyway, stay with us. I think Eye of Ugin is the card you target with a ban when the big mana decks get out of control. I think that Tron is a reasonable thing to have in the format, and I think that even this silly Eldrazi deck is a reasonable thing to have in the format. The problem is Eye of Ugin, because it just makes them a deck that can go really big, really early, and then it's not like they ever run out of gas. Like, the card that makes their deck accelerated is the card that makes their deck, like...
It's fast and slow.
Exactly. Their card that bridges their gap, that turns their early game into their late game, is their late game. Their Supreme Verdict and Elixir of Immortality are the same card. To parrot the old blue-white deck. It's an acceptable reference, right?
Yeah.
The card that keeps you alive is the card that gives you inevitability, which is just terrifying. It's just so good.
Yeah.
If they take that away, I think that these decks can compete. These decks will flood. They'll run out of gas. Just things that happen to other decks will happen to them. Whereas these things are not... I watched like someone play like 3rd turn Blood Moon against the Eldrazi deck, and 3 turns later the guy played Oblivion Sower, and then the next turn he played Ulamog. Just off of play. He's like, I have 10 mountains, play Ulamog. And I'm just like, this is just like...
Yeah.
There's something is wrong. Like, the best
fair.
non-basic hate card is in play, and it couldn't matter less. Like, something is wrong, you know?
Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, let's get on to Standard. We've got a lot of...
All right, well, moving on. We're going to be talking about some Standard. We did last week. I don't know if you, for those of you who got to see the stream, we had a little technical difficulties putting the video up, so that's why this is 6. And if you look on our log, we don't have a 5. So sorry about that. But we went over the Oath pre-release. kind of talked about my likes, my dislikes, what I think is great. Kevin wasn't here for that, so I'd like to give him a chance kind of to maybe pick one or two cards that he thinks are, his favorites, maybe what he's in like expecting to play.
All right, so I got a couple decks that I've been working on, and I'm not going to get too much into the decks, and it's not like secret cabal for these open.
You sure? You're going this week. You're going to Atlanta. You don't want
to. I mean, I don't know if it's good enough yet. Honestly, I'll be honest. Like, I've been trying stuff, and there's a lot of potential in a lot of spots. And a couple cards that have really excited me are... Bring this guy out. Chandra.
She's exciting.
While I haven't actually played this card in a deck yet, it's just... The things that this card does, when you actually think about it, are really, really scary. It just echoes Elspeth's Son's Champion a lot. And the way that card was super good was when you could transform certain decks to go up to that card. Like... You had Abzan that was basically just an Elspeth deck, and some of the older control decks were, just a dedicated removal, 1 for 3 turns, play Elspeth, win. Which is also a great thing. And, you can do that in Jeskai Black or some of the Mardu decks and curve up to this card. But what you can also do is you can have aggressive Jeskai decks or even aggressive smaller creature decks can, transform and play this card at their top end, which is just, it represents like a quick clock. It's very difficult to deal with. And it, also has the options to do other things when you don't want 2/3/1s with haste. And I think 2/3/1s with haste is being underrated by everybody.
I like it a lot, actually, because you're going to be wrathing the board at some point and then clearing the way for basically the 3/1s to get in.
It's just you play the plus ability and hit them for 6, and it's if they don't kill Chandra, there's 6 again. Yeah. How many times can you take 6 before you're dead?
I know.
How many times did Elspeth get plus 3 times, before it died? It just it happened all the time.
Yeah. And Protector can only deal 3 at once.
Those protected, Elspeth protected itself a little better than this did, obviously. But this can wrath the board, much like Elspeth did. And some people talked about putting the white oath so that it has more counters on it, so you can minus it and kill more creatures. And I'm that's a little bit much. Whatever.
Especially when the oath is putting 1/1s into play.
Yeah, right. It's putting 1/1s into play, so let's kill these 1/1s and all your Siege.
The best I like with oath is just Sorin. Being able to put Sorin into play on curve and then next turn ulting it is really
it's cool. But so Chandra's the first card that I really like, and I'm honestly not sure if there's a Chandra deck. The one thing that people are pretty that I haven't seen mentioned too much is that if you 0 Chandra with a reasonable amount of cards in your hand and you have a Sphinx's Tutelage in play, it's just crazy.
Yeah, it's Wheel of Fortune, right? So it's like a pseudo wheel. The problem is I found is 6 mana is just too much for that deck.
Sure.
It's just I've actually tested a little bit of Sphinx's Tutelage with the new set, and I've tested before, on the certain cards that were spoiled that I thought would be good. And this was just one that you would just assume, man, this is great. Obviously, the ability. Sometimes you need to clear the board, and it's also an alternative win condition. So, maybe in that deck, I like it as a 1 or a 2 of in the sideboard. And you could almost turn into a control deck and take the Sphinx Tutelages out.
I think that there's the potential for there to be a blue-red or blue-red X prowess type deck, and either board into Tutelage or play Tutelage and board into prowess.
Interesting.
Because these two strategies are both aided a ton by the new set, and they're completely opposite each other. They're just not the same thing at all. So when you're sideboarding in a format like Standard, you really want to be able to strand their sideboard cards and their best main deck cards with your sideboard cards. That's the goal. You want your sideboard cards, even if they're only 1/1s, to be 2/1s because they blank the card in their hand. That was the, siding out Manus Rider and Jeskai, or siding out a bunch of creatures and burn spells and siding in counter spells, stuff that I used to do all the time. All sorts of things like that. Siding, Abzan aggro into Elspeths and Wraths or whatever they used to do for the mirror.
Yeah.
That type of thing is just meant to blank their cards and meant to get a level up on them in sideboarding. And a deck that curves Swift Spear into the new 1/3 prowess guy, into some draw spells and some removal spells and some pump spells, they're gonna board in all their removal and their Radiant Flames and God knows what else. and you're just gonna play like tutelage into like tormenting voice into that. And just go, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
You know, like that's sweet. So and the same way, like they're gonna board in enchantment removal, expensive like negate, disdainful stroke type counter spells when they play against the tutelage mill deck in game 1, and you're just gonna curve out a creature on the first 3 turns. It's just the same thing. It's just like a super powerful strategy. So
you just want to play Storm Chaser Mage, be honest.
I mean, bring it up. Come on. Get it up there.
Let's
get over here.
Let's not fool anyone, right? This is the card when you first saw that Daddy was happy.
So now, the prowess stat is like one of the toughest stats to evaluate on a card. And like I see this card and I immediately love it. Don't get me wrong. Like I think this card is great.
What about these two? They go. They're Jeskai. They're prowess. They curve.
They'll play. I mean, they're surprisingly passable. But this one on the bottom left here is great too. Yeah, so the main thing with this card is that you really need to be able to ensure that you're going to continuously activate the prowess, because you're not always paying. You're not always okay with paying 2 mana for a 1/3 flyer. That's not exactly the rate that you're looking for in constructed. But you, when you can activate it 1 to 2 times every turn, it's great. And a lot of decks, you just play a removal spell. You know, you play a Planeswalker, play a card draw spell, and you pump it. But like that's not necessarily like it being a 2/3 or 2/4 sum of the time is probably not good enough in like a regular Jeskai aggro deck or something like that. I think the best shell for this deck or for this card is probably a dedicated prowess deck. And there being Swiftspear, Storm Chaser, and Abbott, like it does paint the shell for a dedicated prowess deck to be there. I just don't know if
Expedite.
Expedite's cool. The blue devoid sorcery that says they can't block is also cool. I've seen people playing Grixis with the new black instant. It's like mill yourself for 3, and then you bring back a creature.
Oh, wow.
They were playing that with the prowess guys.
That's interesting.
To fuel Delve, and then they were playing like Tassigers as well as Cruises.
That seems cool.
And Magmatic Insight, which is interesting for sure. Like, I mean, I've definitely been testing this deck a lot. Like, and I've had trouble closing games, and then I've had trouble, like, when you add things like Battle Rage and Titan Strength to try to make sure that you can win games, then you just have the problem of, like, drawing all these pump spells and no creatures, and, like, having that, you know, that frustrating tension that the red decks could have, or that, like, decks like Heroic and decks like Boggles could always have when, you know, they really need to draw one of their threats. So, like, yeah, I don't know if it's there yet. It's pretty scary to take this deck into Battle Week 1 when it's totally unproven, but I think, like, some non-zero amount of people will be playing a blue-red X-Prowess deck in Atlanta.
So you don't think this guy's good enough to just fit into a Jeskai shell?
Probably not.
Okay.
That's my hunch. Like, I'm going to try. You know, I'm going to try
I just think a lot of people are, like, saying, you know, you have Swiftspear, Storm Chaser, Manus Rider. Like, that's a hell of a curve.
It is a hell of a curve, but, like, you have to think of the mana. Like, these things aren't free. Like, Swiftspear, Storm Chaser, Painful Truths is a hell of a curve. And that is something that you can reasonably do. And, like, that is something that you can do without, like, having to actually think in your head and figure out how you're going to do it. Because, yeah, you need to go fetch mountain, fetch island, fetch prairie stream to do that with Manus Rider. And at the same time, you've got 2 1-power creatures in play, and you've expended 3 cards, and you only have 5 points, which is, like, it's good if you untap play, you know, Gideon, pump everybody and go nuts.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. But, like, these cards are going to be in your hand on turns that are not 1, 2, and 3. And that's the scary part. Manus Rider battles on turn 10, man. 3/3 with haste, it's great. Seeker of the Way gets up to 3 power with just 1 spell. Seeker of the Way is reasonable in the late game with that. Like, and Seeker of the Way as a top deck when you've, you know, lost some life and traded resources is great because your subsequent top deck removal spell gets you back into the game or whatever. Whereas this, like, you just poke for an extra damage and I don't know. I really want to cast 3 spells the turn after I play this guy. Like, that's what I want to do with this guy.
So you think right now maybe he's fitted for, like, a Grixis shell or a combo shell, but maybe needs a lot of work?
Blue-red, Teamer, or Grixis, or some...
Teamer. Teamer. I'm excited. Teamer. I'd say Collect a Company, but then you're not playing a lot of spells. So just like a Teamer straight... You know, this guy, maybe you don't have, like, 1-drops. You play, like, this guy into Knuckleblade.
Well, the strength of, like, prowess creatures and a Tarkus command is, like... it's been proven in Standard for sure. in the future.
All right, so we're gonna move on from Storm Chaser Mage.
Can we do another mage, please? More
No!
mages. Daddy
you played
likes
this
mages.
against me this week and you beat me. I don't want to see it again.
It's so good.
All right, we'll go into Reflector Mage. So this, to me, was one of the cards when I first read that I was like, man, this is going to be pretty sweet, but it's even been way better than that.
Yeah, it's just this card is absurd against other creature decks. It's just like the second part of it, the you can't cast things, is like is really underrated. And you can, like, if you played one the previous turn and you bounce their Hangerback Walker on 2, then the next turn you bounce their Hangerback Walker on 1, and like their hand is just 2 Hangerback Walkers that they can't cast.
You know what the greatest thing is? When you just bounce any creature, but they have another copy in their hand.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you're just like, no!
Well, yeah.
This one I had. I just top decked this one. I should be able to play this.
I know. It's not unreasonable for Jeskai Black to have this card in their sideboard for creature matchups.
Oh, yeah.
And play a Duress or a Transgress the Mind, and then play this card and be like, oh, well, I'll bounce that guy, and now you have 2 of them, and I leave you with... Take your Siege Rhino, leave you with double Anafens, and you can't do anything for 3
And it's
turns.
so sick against Tasker. Oh, you delved your old
Yeah,
graveyard.
exactly.
Here you go.
It's just remand on a
can't play
2/3 against Tasker.
Oh,
but
man.
also, the other scary and probably even more scary aspect of this card is that it just auto slots into Rally the Ancestors decks. And that for me, as like someone who tries to pressure Rally with like Mana Strider, Gideon, Tassiger, like with my my cheap threats in Jeskai or Jeskai Black, like this is scary. You're usually like just a removal spell away from dying because like you've expended all your resources on killing them, and they just have all these rallies and stuff that like you can't fade them forever. So like this card is just like bounce your Mana Strider, bounce your Tassiger, bounce your Adafenza, bounce your Siege Rhino, whatever. Any of those things, like it's just the time they need, and that their company is this plus a card to further their other game plan of filling their graveyard and killing you. It's just really scary. This lets them tread water so much better than they ever were able to previously. They don't have to waste like main deck spots with murderous cuts anymore. Like it's just
the thing that
it's just dangerous.
This card is great, but like you said, I think it paired with Collected Company is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Just like you can just get people, and the fact that Rally's been dominating, and now they get another toy too. Like, go back to my title for today, the new toys. Like,
yeah,
everyone's getting toys. Like, Christmas is over, but Wizards is handing out some stuff.
Yeah, this card is like really pushed in a way that like it's in a way that you wouldn't think like that a card like this would actually be good, but in testing it's just been ridiculously good, even in like non-rally builds. Even like I think it'd just be pretty fine in Jeskai. So
Jeskai even. Okay, so we should expect to see it this weekend in Rally. And any other deck you think?
I mean,
maybe the Esper control deck, or not Esper control decks, the Esper token deck.
Esper tokens deck can play this because
with sideboard maybe
they get a spell type effect out of their creatures, which is like they don't want to play raw creatures because their spells are so good at making creatures that blank 1/1 removal spells. So like outside of a couple prowess guys, they want to stay away from just playing regular creatures in Esper tokens. But like this card is a spell on a creature, so like the body that you have that gets buffed by Gideon and gets buffed by like your other effects like that is just almost incidental. Like the body's not the reason why you played the card, and like the body still beats down. So yeah, this card's also great with Gideon. Like when you play this card and they can't play the guy that was threatening Gideon, and you have a blocker for the other guy when they try to attack Gideon a turn later. Like, this just lets you ensure that you're going to untap with your Gideon a lot more than you would previously. So, like, there's definitely a deck there.
Yeah, and it bounces a creature and has a blocker, so it does, it does exactly what you want.
And it's a 2/3, which can't be like...
You know what I'm going to say right here? We have some people in the chat that want to talk about Othanissa, Reflector Mage is sick, and talking about Displacer. So what do you think about Displacer with Reflector Mage every turn?
Oh, yeah, this says flickering it with Displacer is equally as disgusting. Flickering it with Displacer is disgusting. But the mana is real bad. Okay. So, like, yeah, find Displacer over here.
It's white, right?
Yeah.
We will find it.
There it is.
Where?
Down. Oh, right there.
There. Got him. Displacer. Here we go. Exile another target creature.
Rune of the Hidden Realm. What on
Then
earth is that? I got to get into Commander, man.
Holy cow. All right, so 2 and a waste, devoid card. It's a 3/3 for 2 and a white, but two and a waste. Exile another target creature. It doesn't have to be your opponent's, could be your own. Then return to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control.
Yeah. And this is with the colorless mana. So, like, I just thought of, like, playing this card, playing Reflector Mage, and playing Pia Kiran and Wall of Resurgence, and being like, oh, I got the coolest Jeskai deck ever. It's like Jeskai Blink. But then I'm like, I'd have to, like, play 8 Pain Lands to do this. And, like...
And they could just kill your creature?
Yeah.
And then your deck's...
Yeah. Is subpar. And
I thought of Siege Rhino. When I first saw this, I thought it curved out into Siege Rhino quite nicely. And I felt like a lot of the Abzan decks... Well, the old Abzan decks were running more of the Pain Lands. And I felt like they could fit more Pain Lands in because they have cards like Siege Rhino.
But they, like... The interesting thing about that is this card gets, this card would be insane in Rally, but Rally can't afford to play this card because of the mana.
Someone asked if you're my grandfather.
Yes.
This is my grandfather, the daddy.
Oh, it's Mario. I was like, oh, someone's being mean to me on the internet? Must be Mario. Anyway.
All right, back to the Displacer.
Yeah, so it's like... It's very intentionally has a waste mana because if it didn't, I think it would be way, way too good.
Yeah.
Like,
So what do we want to flicker? We want to flicker Rhinos.
We want to flicker Reflector Mage.
We want to flicker
Pia
Hangerbacks.
Kiran.
Hangerbacks.
No.
Opponents.
Oh, opponent's Hangerback,
Opponents
sure.
Hangerback.
The opponent's Dragon Outcast tokens, whatever.
That's a stretch, but I'll...
Opponent's attacking Gideons.
Okay, I'll give you... It's a stretch. Colgan?
Colgan attacking Gideon.
Okay.
Attacking Gideon is really interesting, too.
Yeah, because what if it's at 1, and then it comes back with all the loyalty, right?
Well, yeah, but they plus it to 5, and it comes back at 4.
Oh, true. Okay, but then it comes back, and they can plus it again.
Yeah. It comes back, and they can plus it again, but
it's not end of turn. It's just
they can
make it a creature again.
No! Yeah, I mean, it still stops you from taking the damage in a pinch, which is interesting.
Okay.
It does a lot of things that there's not really any card in the format that does all these things at the moment. So, like, you definitely have to keep your eye out on something like this because it does... There's no competition for this effect whatsoever, and there's a reasonable amount of upside from playing with this effect as well. So, like, there's just nothing that, like... The only other thing that does this is Ojutai's command.
Okay.
And, like, it does it in a really, really restricted way. Like, it brings back, blah, blah, blah. Like, a redundancy of comes into play abilities on creatures and stuff.
I think when I first saw this card, I really liked it. I felt like it's going to have its day in the sun in Standard. I don't think right away it's going to be very viable. I think people are still trying to figure out the mana bases and then get the ways together. However, I think it's a bomb in Limited. I think the fact that it blanks all your opponent's removal spells, like they have to kill this first.
Late game, they're just like
tap all your guys.
Tap your guy, kill you.
Yeah, it's great.
It's just like, what? Yeah, this card's definitely a limited bomb. I think that we might honestly have to wait for the fetch battle mana base to rotate out before this card's really going to shine.
I agree.
I think the cost that you're passing up by playing Pain lands in your deck or a lot of colorless lands is too high when everybody else is going fetch battle. Basic battle and turning themselves on right away. Like they're having untapped lands for their entire turn. They might take off turn 1, but like every turn after that they have an untapped land. Whereas like you're going to have to go like you have all these Pain lands and then probably some tap lands too because you want other colorless lands, Mirror Pool and blah, 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 and some tri-lands and whatever. And like it's just scary. You could end up, not starting the game for 3 turns. And, like, I think this deck... You really need to find a dedicated colorless deck. Or you need to wait for a little while for the cons block to cycle out.
Yeah, Mero was saying 2 of them in play seems sweet. Because they just protect each other.
Oh, sure. Yeah, whatever, like...
What about for the eternal... I guess for the EDH fans and for the Kitchen Top crew... What about Pandemonium?
Work.
Bang!
That'll
bang,
do.
bang, bang.
That will play, as Patrick Sullivan would say.
All right. You said you didn't want to go over too much because you're not sure on what's going on in Atlanta.
One or two
let's just go over things that you think. I want your top 2 cards that we will see if we're watching Star City Atlanta this week.
If you're watching me...
No, we're not watching you
Okay.
because you're going to 03. No, we'll be watching you.
Goblin Dark Dwellers is the one that I can guarantee we'll see play.
Okay.
And is most likely to see play from me as well.
So what you're saying is you're playing goblins this weekend.
I'm playing more than one goblin. Look at the Thesaurus, the greatest creature of all time.
I don't know about that. Have you seen Wall of Roots?
Wall of Roots is
Or Wall of Wood?
quite a powerful rate on that Wall of Roots. Five butt, yeah.
He beats Snapcaster all day.
But yeah, so the other 2 cards that I really like are...
Why do you like this card real quick? Just because it has this
Why
effect?
do I like this card? Because it does everything that Jeskai Black and that Jeskai strategy in general have done so well. The things that made the Jeskai decks good, and even the Martyr decks to a lesser degree, the things that made these red-white X decks good in Standard is a combination of the graveyard redundancy and creatures that have some effect other than their power toughness stats.
Okay. They need to have a come into play ability.
Or a lot of abilities.
Okay.
And all those things, and this has all those things. It does all those things super well, and it's just when you were in a tough spot where you had to minus a Jace to get rid of it. Now you just play this guy, kill your thing, plus Jace on something else, and the next turn you minus Jace and you have another minus the next turn? What? How are you ever not stabilizing if you have this? And how are they not dead? This closes the door super quickly against so many things. And this card is so good that it makes Jeskai Black really needs to have a plan against Rally and Ramp, because this has everything else covered. Okay. It's just exactly what these decks needed. And I don't want to rant on and on about Jeskai because you'll literally I'll never shut up.
But
let's go to Nissa, Voice of Zendikar.
Real quickly before we go to the Nissa, I just want to let you all know I'm brewing goblins. It's going down. Cedric Phillips, I hope you're going to hear a word. I'm going to send you a message later, maybe on Twitter. I am brewing goblins for Standard. I'm excited. But,
because Cedric likes goblins? Or
he loves goblins.
Well, he likes Legacy Goblins, which is a blue deck.
He just loves goblins, I think.
Legacy Goblins is a blue deck.
He's a goblin fan.
Don't
He's a
let anybody
Cleveland
tell you
fan. He's got to
different.
be a goblin fan. All right, where are we
I don't
going
get the
to?
reference, but
I
that's
know.
okay.
Oath and Nissa's.
No, Nissa, Voice of Zendikar. Oh, they want to talk about Oath and Nissa, right? You can go back to Oath and Nissa.
All right, we'll go to Oath real quick. Oath of Jace, Anticipate. And yeah, they're the same.
Yeah. This card, Gideon Ally of Zendikar, Nissa, Voice of Zendikar, Hangerback Walker, maybe... This is I'm writing my article right now before we started this, and there's a deck that plays all those cards in my article. So maybe there's something there. This is the next evolution of the Megamorph deck, I think. It doesn't need to be so redundant with all these 3-drop creatures, and instead, I think it's going to play, a wide range of creatures, planeswalkers, and, maybe even some more enchantments, too. Maybe some of the White Oath, maybe some of, Hardened Scales. There's a lot of options there.
Yeah, I think this card's mainly, people saw it and were like, well, great, it's going to be a modern thing, but I think in Standard it really is exceptional.
Yeah.
But it's going to be good in the decks that play maybe the new Nissa and that play Gideon, like you said, because it'll have more hits.
And it's a 1-mana way to trigger Monastery Mentor that replaces itself.
Okay.
It won't always replace itself with something that also triggers Monastery Mentor, but it is interesting that it does that because non-blue decks that want to play Monastery, or non-blue and non-red decks that want to play Monastery Mentor have been at a loss for that effect, and it's held Monastery Mentor out of token strategies as a result, and the card could really shine in a green-white type deck if it has
That's interesting too, actually. Now you can finally play Sarkhan Unbroken. I actually agree with you. I think that's one of the things that's been holding back that card for a while is the fact that the mana is not great. And in a lot of the teamer decks, this seems like it would fit quite nicely.
So what are you playing? Red-green?
Yeah. Red-green, maybe just Temur. Just add it to teamer.
Well, you just cast Sarkhan Unbroken in teamer.
True, but sometimes you have mana issues where you don't have all 3 of the mana.
Yeah.
It just makes it so much easier. And it searches it out.
You know, the coolest thing about it, and I'm so obsessed with card draw and card selection that, like, he was like, I can finally play Sarkin Unbroken. I'm like, yeah, you can play Sarkin Unbroken plus it and play this. Whoa!
Wow.
It makes a mana, right?
Yeah.
You draw 2 cards. It's unbelievable.
That's true. Okay,
That's like my favorite part about it. Let's move
All right,
on
we're going
before I
to
get
the
silly.
Nissa. Nissa, voice of. So we have ally, now we have voice.
Yeah, so I think this card is really underrated. People at first glance were like, it makes an 0-1. This card's not good.
Okay.
It makes an 0-1, and then it goes down twice, and their opponent is dead.
Goes down twice?
Yeah, it makes an 0-1, it goes to 4.
Okay.
And then the next turn, you minus pump all your guys. Then the turn after that, you
What if you don't
minus
have
pump
all
your
guys? What if you don't have
Well, you have
guys?
planeswalkers. You have creatures that make tokens like Hangerback Walker. I saw a deck with Hardened Scales and this card, which is also crazy. Put 2 counters on all your creatures.
Okay. You know what I like with this? Oath of Gideon.
Yeah.
You play Oath of Gideon, you get 2 creatures. This comes into play with 4 loyalty.
Go
now,
down right
automatically
away.
You can go down right away.
Yeah,
and you got
exactly.
You got some real heavy
Exactly.
hitters.
And then you can play. It makes something like Seeker of the Way not so bad because your creatures are also non-creatures.
I just thought of this. I guess, why not? I'll bring it up. Blue-green polymorph in Modern.
Oh, because you can make.
Can we do it?
I can't. There was already an effect that did that, and people didn't care.
Okay, so it's just
Well,
bad.
this is like an awakening zone that you can kill them with, so maybe it is good. Yeah, polymorph's on the shelf again. All
Dust them off,
The
dust
twin
them
band
off.
did something. Here we go.
You already know that I'm working on foil into Ether.
What are you working on?
It is Sneak and Show in Modern, thanks to Josh Rohr, who helps me out with a lot of decks. And he showed me this card. I guess I might as well pull it up, huh? Can we card search?
So much for the last card we wanted to talk about. I guess there wasn't one.
What is it? Void or Fold into Ether?
Fold into Ether? I don't even know what that does. I would lose. Ether has got an A in front of it because it's spelled in that bizarre way.
Well, let's see if this just comes into
It won't. It won't fold into either or Ether. It will not fold.
It will not fold nothing.
Either Ether. I can't move my tongue.
We'll pull it up on Gather here. Gather.
Yo, the chat is active today. I like this. You guys got to come back every time.
Here we are. We got it. All right. Community rating a 2. What? Have they seen this card?
It's generous community over here.
Oh my god, this is insane. All right. So this card, we'll leave you off on this crazy deck that I'm working on right now. It's
yeah.
2 and 2 blue, counter target spell. Already great, right? 4-mana counter spell. If you do that, that spell's controller may put a creature card from his hand into play. Now, you're thinking that may not be good.
This has to cost 4 because people are afraid of people doing it to their own stuff, right?
Correct.
That's the only
And
reason why it costs 4, because this is a dreadful card.
And that's why I'm doing it. So I have it in a deck with Gut Shot, Probe, Through the Breach, and guess what? I get to play Emrakul and Grizzlebrand all over again. So right now I'm testing stuff like Remands. I have in there, I have Serum Visions. I have Prismatic Prism, is it?
Pentad Prism?
Pentad Prism.
The 2 artifact thing?
So that I can turn to that and turn through this with a Gut Shot. Or I can turn 3 through the Breach.
You can just turn 3 it anyway.
Well, through with a Shimmy and Spirit Guide.
Simian Spirit Guide and
Yeah.
Gitaxian Probe, and you do it.
Yeah, but it allows me to have the Through the Breach on turn 3 as well.
I mean, we don't have a blue-red combo deck in Modern at the moment. Because Storm is a dumpster fire.
And what's funny,
and they banned Twin.
And what's funny is that if this deck, I can actually make it good, we'll kill a turn quicker than Twin.
Yeah.
And it still has Blood Moon, which...
If this actually worked, I would be on board.
This would be the first deck ever that Kevin would play
that you built, exactly. But anyway.
Well, Magic TCG... Well, I would love to be able to work with them and get some content on
it's just Reddit. You just share
throw it
the
on?
links on Reddit.
All right.
Yeah, we can just do that every week. We'll be like,
All right, we'll get on that.
Thursdays.
Let me...
I surf the R spikes every now and then, but I don't know. Reddit is just a giant, scary internet black hole full of darkness.
we do this every Thursday. It's usually done from sometime between 12 and 1 over here. Started a little early today. But the video in entirety, if you came in a little late, will be up on there.
That's what I was going to say.
Grizzle Shoal? Come on.
Well,
but Grizzle Shoal's a deck already. You got to try new things. I want to try this and see if it's good.
Well, this deck gets to play Permission, which is interesting because like you get to
Remand.
Yeah, you get to play Remand.
Time Walk in Modern.
So there's some things there.
So
I don't know. Maybe you could just play Remand and Through the Breach and just have that be your deck, like blue-red Through the Breach.
So you don't like this card?
I don't hate it. I would play a couple in the Through the Breach deck, but I wouldn't focus the deck around it.
You need a lot of ways to go off, though. If you just have 4 Through the Breaches, I think you find yourself like victim of one. This keeps it into play, like it doesn't go away. Where Through the Breach you have to sack, and this is an instant. You can do it in response. They tap out to do something. I'm gonna tap out to play this. Guess what? Nice Liliana. Okay, you upticked in response.
Oh my god, it's an instant.
Yeah, it's a counter spell. It is a counter spell.
You do this end to turn. It's crazy.
Put Emrakul into play. Nice permanence.
It just is Through the Breach, but it's
better.
Play. Yeah,
it's
cool.
It's sweet.
It's cool. Yeah, we've gone so deep.
Thanks, I appreciate that. It wasn't too bad. And this is the early workings of this thing. All right, so that's going to wrap it up for this week's edition of Weekly Ward. We'll try to get on Reddit next week and let everyone know what's going on. The video, like I said, will be in its entirety up probably tomorrow, if not sometime early this weekend. As always, thanks for coming. Thanks for participating in the chat. We really appreciate that.
Thank you guys. Like they said, I think we're going to try to share the information for the show. We're going to do it most Thursdays, and every Thursday that I'm here, I'll come on as well. We'll try to do like a little bit of like a live cast thing once a week.
Yeah.
Talking about our upcoming tournaments and stuff.
Yeah, feel free to follow me on BigWard28 and also at KerwinsGameStore.com. If you have any topics that you'd like us to discuss, come right into the chat. You can also send me right on BigWard28 at Yahoo.com. Send me a message. Let me know what's going on. If there's something you want us to talk about, a specific topic that's on your mind. In addition here, we're going to be ending, it's roughly 12:11 Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to pop back on at 1:30, and we're going to be streaming Battle for Zendikar.
Draft?
So, PPTQ sealed.
Okay, yeah, I'm glad I'm not going to be part of that.
So, I'd rather be doing Oath, but we're going to jump on that. So, thanks again, and we'll see you next time.
Take care. Thanks for watching.